Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here today for our webinar. This webinar is going to be talking about the Talent Center and how our Talent Center for the ESSEC Global MBA is shaping the future for its participants. Here's a bit of housekeeping. The webinar will last approximately 1 hour. There'll be some time for presentation and also time for questions. So please turn on your speakers and connect your headsets if you have any. The event is recorded and you will be sent a playback that you'll be able to look at later if you need. You are muted during the session, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask those questions in the chat or in the questions, and they will be addressed at the end of the presentation. So feel free right away to ask any questions that you might have. And if you have any specific questions regarding your personal application, feel free to reach out to Global MBA at essec.edu, and we'll have the email address at the end also, so you can screenshot it if needed. The agenda is, first I'll introduce you to the panelists, then I'll talk generally about ESSEC Business School, the class profile for the program, the 2 different tracks, and then we'll talk more specifically about the Talent Center. You'll hear from our alumni, which is the most interesting part of all those presentations, is hearing from our alumni. I'll tell you a bit more about the application process and our different deadlines, a way for us to get in touch, and then you will be able to ask all the questions that you have about the program and the Talent Center. So first, let me introduce you to our panelists. Daphne Mathieu is our Global MBA Talent Center Manager. Hi, Daphne.
Thank you, Laura, for having us today. Nice to meet you all.
And then we also have Antea Davis, who is the Director of Corporate Relations and Career Development. Hi, Antea.
Yes, I'm terribly sorry, everybody. My camera is out of order this morning, and I work particularly on the luxury brand management track of the Global MBA. Lovely to see you, well, not to see you all, but lovely to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
It's still great to have you, to have your voice. So it's still great to have you without the camera. We also have 2 alumni, one for each track. We have Alejandro Marin Martinez, who's an alumnus from 2021, who is an Associate Director of Corporate Ratings at Fitch Ratings. Hi, Alejandro.
Hi, hello, nice to see you all. Oh, for you to hear me, but yeah.
And then we have Arvind Raman, who's also an alumnus from 2021, so we have classmates here, who is a sales manager for Montblanc on the Madison Avenue flagship. Hi, Arvind.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me, Laura, Daphne.
Fantastic. And then you have me. I'll be presenting ESSEC in general, and I am a global MBA recruitment manager for ESSEC. First, a little bit more about ESSEC Business School. We are a world school, so we have 4 different campuses all over the world. We have a campus in Cergy, where the Global MBA takes place. We have a campus in La Défense, and we have a campus in Singapore and Rabat in Morocco. We're the 8th business school in Europe, and we're 5th in the world for executive education programs, according to the Financial Times rankings. And we have, of course, the Triple Crown, the Triple Accreditation. So we have ACSB, AMBA, and we have EQUIS. A quote that is important about the Global MBA is knowing that the Global MBA takes truly passionate individuals to the next level of their career or their passion. We know that success takes work. We know that excellence requires passion, and we reward both in the Global MBA. So it is something to keep in mind about this program specifically. We are a boutique program. We address every participant as an individual. So we want to make sure that each and every one of you has help for your career and your professional project. This program, and our alumni will be able to tell you, really attracts passionate participants from very different backgrounds and industries, and our outputs, so careers after the program, are very much diverse as much as input. Really, it is a winning formula for us to ensure that all our participants have global success after the program. For specifics about the Global MBA, the program is 12 months. It is full-time, and we have one intake in September. Participants will have a 3-month capstone consulting project at the end of the program, or they will be able to choose an internship. We have 2 different specializations, strategy and digital leadership, and also luxury brand management. So it's great to have the both of you so you can talk about the 2 specializations. And participants will travel between 3 and 5 countries, depending on the year, for different field trips to discover different markets, business trips, and things like that, and meet companies. So it's very important that we're just not on campus in Paris, but that our participants also travel the world to have a global idea of what's going on in their respective fields. So the Global MBA is ranked 27th in the world. It's number 2 in Asia, and it's number 13th in the world for internationalization. So that's quite important to keep in mind. It's a very international program. The average age for our participants is 30 years old, so it's quite young. 97% of our class is international or has an international background. So internationalization, like I said, is very important, whether it's professional experience abroad, whether it's just being interested in working internationally, speaking multiple languages, having different travel experiences. That's really something we're seeking in our participants. On average, our participants have 6 years of work experience. Alejandro and Arvind, how many years of work experience did you have before joining the program?
7 in my case.
Okay.
In my case, there were 7 as well.
Okay, all right, so a little bit above average, but so that's quite good. It gives you a good idea. And 50% of our participants are female. Here we have 100% male alumni, but in the classroom it's about 50-50 every year. Now I'm going to tell you a bit more about our different majors very quickly, because the Talent Center is what you're here for. The Strategy and Digital Leadership is a specialization that will help you learn and practice how to manage a business or company, a startup in an international setting. So we really want you to gain deeper understanding on how to lead, how to manage, how to organize, how to get insights into digitalization, social issues, sustainability in different businesses, in different other areas, whether it's finance, consulting, many different areas are concerned about this major. We'll help you navigate the complexities of digital transformation and really understand different concepts and practical tools to help you succeed in different companies in different areas. For the luxury brand management, it's a little bit more specific to luxury, like it is indicated in its name. The luxury brand management specialization in MBA is one of the first MBA created worldwide, which had a partnership with LVMH and L'Oréal Luxe in 1995. So it truly has 26 years of expertise in the luxury world. So it has a very, very strong and very beautiful history in the MBA field and in the luxury world. You will gain insight in all the sectors of luxury, whether you're passionate about fashion, cosmetics, jewelry, wines, spirits. You really will gain great insight. We want you to understand the major challenges of the luxury businesses. We really want you to be prepared for those challenges, and we want to give you the opportunity to network in the field. So that's really a good part of the Global MBA, whether it's strategy, whether it's luxury brand management. You will have great opportunities to network and gain, personalized career development for your specific interests in luxury. And then always we want you to be up to date with the latest trends of what's going on in the luxury world, what is changing the luxury world, and that is what we will teach you in this major. So now that I've gone over the MBA, the Global MBA in general, I will let Daphne talk a bit more about the Talent Center specifically.
Thank you so much, Laura, and thank you, Alejandro and Arvind, for joining us today. It's a real pleasure. So I'm going to introduce the Talent Center for the Global MBA. We will zoom into different topics First, I want to go back to some alumni success stories, starting with Alejandro and Arvin, who joined us today. Then I will talk about our plan of action at the Talent Center, what we do throughout the year, the different phases of evolution for our students. And then we will zoom with Antea on activities for strategy and digital leadership first, and then Antea will develop for luxury brand management, what we do exactly throughout the year. And I will finish with employment key figures, which are very important also for you to understand the impact of this program on your life. So let's start with an example with here today, online Alejandro. And I want to start by showing that, we have beautiful career progression thanks to the Global MBA. Alejandro, before joining the program, was working at S&P in Mexico, so in his home country as an analyst for S&P. And thanks to the Global MBA, he managed to change markets, so job market, and move to Europe, and to change position also to a much higher position, becoming Associate Director of Corporate Ratings for Fitch Ratings in Madrid. So this really shows by itself the impact of the program for some of our students, and the fact that it can help change either geography or position or industry. We can move to the next slide, Laura. I also wanted to share a few other examples from past of our students. We have Priya, she's Indian. She was working for Deloitte a few years back as a consultant. And thanks to the MBA, she managed to change job markets, relocated to the UK, to London, and stayed in the same industry, but with more responsibilities and a higher role at EY as an assistant manager. We also have another nice story with another Alejandro Arellano, who is Mexican too. And thanks to the Global MBA, he managed to do the triple change industry, position, and geography. So this is, again, a beautiful success story of someone who was as an engineer, in another country, and thanks to the Global MBA, was able to join the French tech with a beautiful success story, which is Mano Mano. I don't know if you're familiar with, but this is e-commerce and retail. And it's actually one of the French unicorn right now, and he managed to secure a position as a senior account manager. And finally, last but not least, we have Naida, who is from Lebanon, and thanks to the Global MBA, she was able to switch from a regular industry, traditional industry, to retail and e-commerce at Amazon, joining the Pathway program, which is a great program for post-MBA graduates. So those are just a few examples of what the Global MBA the impact it can have on your professional life. We can move to the next slide, and Antea will talk also about Arvin.
Well, first of all, Arvind, thank you very much for joining us. It's -7 degrees and very cold, and only 7 o'clock in the morning in New York. So that's why Arvind looks as though he's a little bit cold. So Arvind's a very nice success story. Arvind comes from India, and before he joined the MBA, he worked in global integrated marketing services in India and for a venture capital investment company, after which he moved to New York for a year or so, where he was doing consulting work, where he had some customers in luxury, but his real objective in coming to us was to make the transition into a full-time position in the luxury industry. And he's absolutely passionate about writing instruments. So we helped him to achieve his career goal, because today he is working as sales manager for Montblanc's flagship store in Madison Avenue, where you have how many people under your responsibility, Arvind?
10 currently, including sales staff as well as the operations team.
Yes, so this was a complete career transition and a great success story. And we'll be going back to Arvind later on, and he'll tell you a little bit more about what he does on a day-to-day basis. So then we have 3 other examples. We have Jae-suk, who is Korean and who had been working as a brand manager and sales planner for lifestyle brands in Korea, but was mid-level, mid-market, not upstream. So his objective in coming to do the luxury brand management MBA at ESSEC was to move up into a very high-end luxury brand, and what could have been better than to have landed a job with Chanel when he went back to Korea, where he is now a senior retail strategist. So then we have Victoria. Victoria from New York worked as a marketing manager for an investment company for 5 years before she came to ESSEC. It had always been her dream to work in jewelry and watches. And so as a result of doing the field project consulting mission during the summer at ESSEC for 3 months with Cartier, we were able to get her a first foot inside the door of Cartier in New York. And today she is working as strategic planning manager with Cartier in New York, where she's been for quite a few months now and is having a wonderful time. So the first two went back to their home markets, but Rosie got the triple change in that she changed markets, she changed sectors of activity, and she changed jobs. So Rosie comes from China. She'd been working for 7 years in China before she came to ESSEC in project management for a company that worked specifically in retail space and interior design. So as a result of coming to ESSEC and doing our program, she is now working for L'Oreal Luxury Division, with whom we have a partnership since 26 years since we first founded the luxury specialization here at ESSEC. And now she's working as international communications project manager for Martin Margiela and for Victor and Rolf fragrances, particularly in charge of communication for the Chinese market. So these are 3 wonderful success stories of 3 young people who came to ESSEC to pursue their dream, and they got there. And Laura, we were the first MBA program specialized in luxury brand management in the world in 1995. We weren't one of, we were the first, and I know because I was there. Right.
Thank you for that. It's good to say it. You're correct. It's good to be precise about it.
Okay, so now let's have a look at the different phases of the year, with the Talent Center, what we do exactly, when we do it, because 1 year is very short, it's very intense academically and also for Talent Center activities. So I want to go back to what we work on. I would say there's a first phase called the prepare, which is really the time where our participants will be able to meet with our team, to interact for the first time. We'll talk about their career goal, why they are joining the program. And of course, we'll go back to very important tools such as the CV writing, pre-arrival webinars on different topics. We'll also start using a smart system for CV optimization. And also another important activity before they arrive is a self-career assessment that we want them to take so they are fully prepared for self-reflection and also to think about their future. Then you will arrive, and actually we will move to phase 2, which is the launch, where basically we'll start working on soft skills. So soft skills are very essential during the program because I think it's key for your success. So we'll start working on key soft skills during workshop, and especially a soft skills hacker, where we'll work on time management, teamwork, leadership, of course, which is very important. So all those skills and the soft skills that will help you become more efficient throughout the year and really achieve your post-MBA career goal. This is also the time for the first meeting with the Talent Center to really go back to where you are, what you need, what will be the different phases of the year. And then we move to phase 3, which I call Strengthen, because it's really the time where we will work with workshop, with different activities on having you completely ready to shine. So being able, thanks to different workshops, to brand your profile, to know exactly what's your value, what's your identity, so you can promote yourself to the right people and be in contact with the good leaders, the good, the good contacts to make your career goal happen. So we have a series of workshops. I'm going to talk about this a little bit later on. And then final stage and phase is the shine, which I think it's the time of the year where participants will start really being in contact, constant contact with companies through field trips where they will interact with corporate contacts, through the capstone that you mentioned, Laura, or the internship, that are beautiful opportunities to be inside the company, solving actually a project or working on a specific topic. So those are opportunities also to have a stronger resume and to have more impact when the times come to apply. The last page 4, is also about networking. So we insist a lot on the networking part. So this is just to give you an idea of what's happening throughout the year. We can move to the next slide now. We want to zoom in on what happened exactly, so you understand, the different activities. So I would say we work on 3 different topics for strategy and digital leadership. First one being coaching and preparation. Second one, networking, and of course, the job search. For coaching, we have individual coaching session, we have different workshops. We have, of course, we will work on salary negotiation on LinkedIn on important topics as a future candidate and to really make the difference also compared to other potential talents. So I want to take this opportunity maybe to ask Alejandro to share his insight on one of the workshops that he probably enjoyed the most, or something he wants to share about the workshop.
Many of them were very interesting. I think the 2 that I would stand out about them is, the first one is the consulting workshop we had. We have like this partnership, like the MBA has a partnership with a Exchange MBA, or I don't remember exactly with who is it, but we had like different consultants give us share with us, like doing mock interviews of the dreaded case interviews, and like with different panels and with different kinds of things. So they gave us feedback on how are we doing, and it also helped us shape other parts of our fit interview kind of things, which are more broadly based and can be applied to other kinds of interview process, even if you are not you're not interested in going into consulting. And the second one is also the salary negotiations one. You get a case and you get and you are either I mean, you can play different kinds of roles, both in the terms of recruitment or in terms of like you are the person who's being hired. So it is a very interesting role. You understand the different dynamics at place when these kind of negotiations do happen. And it was very interesting and very enlightening going after like the final process of it for me.
Thank you so much, Alejandro, for sharing your experience. Yeah, to go back on the consulting preparation, some of our participants are very interested in consulting, but what we notice is that also big companies like to have some cases during interviewing process and application processes. So it's the time where we will really train participants and students on the specific cases throughout 3 different workshops, with coaches giving individual feedback and really training them, and with a platform called Case Coach that Alejandro was referring to, that will really allow them to train online. Now for networking, I'm not going to talk about everything because it's a lot of activities going on, but basically we have exclusive Global MBA events throughout the course of the year in Paris and during field trips. So every time we travel, we will also have some local networking events to meet with local leaders. And also we have all the students, of course, have access to ESSEC Alumni, which represent 62,000 alumni in 80 countries, which is actually for me a big asset, to build their post-MBA career life. And aside from this, there's also a range of ESSEC Alumni events, one-to-one meetings with alumni, so they can really interact and network in person and online, both formats, obviously. For job search, we are doing a lot of company presentations in France and abroad every time we travel. And also, of course, the different field trips that give the possibility to really showcase their talents with different speakers and different contacts in different markets. And something that is very valuable, as I mentioned before, for the CV and their future application is the fact that they will really need to graduate to do either a capstone with a top company or an internship for 5 months that really gives value also to, and allows them to put in practice what has been learned during the program. So now let's move to luxury brand management activities.
So there are quite a few activities that Daphne organises that both tracks participate in, and then we have some specifics that are more particular to the luxury brand management. So I'll just highlight the specifics just to make it easier for everybody to digest all the information. The first specific is that we have a mentor program, and I pair up every person in the class with an executive in the sector activity that they're most interested in working in, but don't necessarily have any knowledge about, so that they can understand how that business works. Arvind, I'm going to call you in here. Would you like to explain how, as a passionate person about writing instruments, you happen to land as mentor the CEO of St. Dupont? Could you say just a few words about the experience?
I mean, it was an immense pleasure, and it's not every day, even if you're in an MBA program, that you're able to get access to the CEO working in one of the major companies in the specific category that you're interested in. So it's very much a testament to the talent center as well as your own breadth of connections over 25 years of doing this, that I was able to land that particular mentorship. And it was incredibly useful, actually, having the perspective of a CEO, given that my own ambitions are entrepreneurial, to have someone at that level who's able to talk about the industry from a kind of macro perspective, in addition to the day-to-day business operations. So that perspective was incredibly valuable.
Thank you, Arvind. Please don't everybody think that everybody gets a mentor who's a CEO, because that's not the case. We have a few CEOs for more senior level people in the class, people at mid-management level, and in all sectors of activity. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that I organise what we call savoir-faire visits to different workshops in Paris, so that you can understand all of the expertise that goes on behind the scenes that makes a luxury product a luxury product. So we go to the École Van Cleef & Arpels, where they explain all the process of making these wonderful pieces of jewelry. We go to École Lesage, who does all the embroidery for Chanel and all of the haute couture houses. We go to the Maison Louis Vuitton and their atelier in Asnières, where they do made-to-measure pieces, limited editions. We go for a visit for the day to Champagne, where we visit a champagne production house, and they explain to you all of the intricacies of making champagne and why it's so expensive and why it has to stay for 3 to 4 years in a bottle on a shelf before you can even think about having the pleasure of opening it and drinking it. So all of this to help you to understand why luxury is luxury, why there is so much expertise that goes into making luxury products, and for us to help you to understand, so that when you go into the profession, when you come out of the program, you have a very good knowledge of what goes on behind the scenes. The other thing that we offer you is the possibility of being able to work in a store for 1 week to understand the complexities of what is entailed in actually running a store for those of you, as in the case of last year, Arvind, who may want to start your career in luxury going into a retail management position. So we put everybody into a store. It could be Louis Vuitton, it could be Dior, it could be, for those interested in fragrances and cosmetics, it could be one of the Estée Lauder brands. We put you in there on the floor for a week, shadowing a person who will help to explain to you what does retail management mean in luxury today. And the one thing that's very important to know is that all of these big conglomerates like the LVMH and the Kering and the Richemont They're looking for MBA graduates to run their retail operations because the size of the businesses are becoming so huge that unless you've got really excellent business acumen, you can't think about going in and running those businesses without understand what goes in on the shop floor. If you've got no business in the store, Arvind, then you've got you've got no future. So those are just sort of two important points about the industry insights and the coaching and the preparation. The networking, I organise a lot of alumni conferences throughout the whole of the year where I invite our alumni in to come and talk to you about what they did before, how the MBA helped them to progress in their careers, how they got their first job, what they've been doing since, and to be able to give you tips and help about what to do and what not to do in your job search when you come out of the MBA. And then with the job search, we have some wonderful trips. So in person, we're going to London for a week and we're going to discover the luxury industry in the UK. We're going to Milan and to Florence. So Italy, after France, is the biggest manufacturer and supplier of luxury goods. So we have 3 days in Milan and 2 days in Florence where we will meet the major players on the Italian luxury market, and you will understand what they do and how their business is progressing. So that will help you a lot. You have the field project consulting mission for 3 months. And as I explained to you earlier on, it was key for Victoria in landing a job with Cartier because she worked for 3 months with Cartier here in Paris while she was doing her field project. So if you add all this together, plus if we go back to the networking, I organise alumni conferences, but I also organise CEO conferences so that you can understand. For example, last year when we went to Milan, we met with the CEO of Versace, Jonathan Ackroyd, who explained how when he came into the company, they were losing money, and how when he's just about to leave it 4 years later, they are making money and how he's made them profitable. So it was a wonderful case study of what to do when your brand is not doing terribly well, into how to renovate and how to rejuvenate a brand and how to bring it back up to the top again. So you get examples of that as well, opportunities to interact with key people in the industry, and this is how you build your expertise during the year so that when you come out at the end of the year, you're all expert and ready to go, aren't you, Arvind?
Exactly. That's exactly right. I have very fond memories, incidentally, of that talk with Jonathan Ackroyd.
So Jonathan Ackroyd, who's just been nominated CEO of Burberry in London, so we're hoping that we'll be able to have him later on next year talking to us from the UK and talking to us about a different company, just as an example.
So to go back on the skills that we developed with the workshop, it all comes to like personal branding, the pitch, of course, that is really essential, especially during networking and interviewing. The online presence with LinkedIn workshop, the CV and cover letter. We strategize the career plan, and individual coaching is essential, at least 4 coaching sessions, and of course on-demand talent center follow-up for any question related to career plan. The fit interview and case practice that we mentioned before that are very important for strategy students. And when the time comes to apply, mock interview, salary negotiation, and networking, which is again very key. So Laura, if you want to move to the next slides, just a few examples in pictures of the activities that we organize with LinkedIn in person in La Défense, with the personal branding. We had our consulting masterclass in person again, and then of course talks with people from Google, from Accenture, Total Energies, Mano Mano. Very inspiring talk from Sophia Swire, too, inspiring leader on sustainability, and then our networking events in exclusive locations in Paris and in other European cities. Last but not least, our one-to-one with ESSEC alumni, which are actually happening today. So it's a very good timing. different kinds of corporate presentations that we had last December. When we can, of course, company visits. We have one planned at Schneider Electric in about 1 month. We'll be going to the headquarters close to Paris. Doing field trips, we had a lot of networking events.
So I think on this slide, we need to find Alejandro and Arvin, right? I believe they're on there.
Very, very good idea.
I think it's mostly me because the events were like for the strategy cohort. I don't think Arvin will be there. I am there.
Oh yeah, I think I can see, yeah.
Yeah, part of the pictures are also in Luxembourg, and actually Arvin went to Amsterdam directly and to Italy, so it was quite different schedule. But so now let's go back also to key figures, because I think this is important, very important for all of you who are joining today. Let's talk about our employability rates and career progression. Important figures are the fact that 78% of our graduates find a job within 4 months, knowing that most of them will find before graduation or by the time of graduation, and of course the next weeks following graduation. Something that is quite interesting too is also to notice that 85% of our graduates have a promotion within 6 to 12 months, meaning that not only recruiters and companies trust them, but that they also want them to progress quite quickly. As Antea mentioned before, they are equipped with the skill set. So once you know you made the right decision, you can trust, you know, this kind of MBA profile coming from ESSEC for a top position. In terms of international exposure, this is part of our DNA for sure, and we see it also post-graduation and post-MBA with, you know, alumni from the Global MBA present in several and hundreds of different countries. The top 5 markets are France, obviously, India, the United States, Singapore, and Japan. But we can see that there's also other markets for post-MBA job employment. Another key figure I wanted to share about is the fact that they use different kind of platforms, our participants and graduates, to look for their post-MBA jobs. So they will rely, of course, on their existing network. You can see it on the chart below, but also, of course, LinkedIn, but they will also rely a lot on the ESSEC network by itself, on the ESSEC Alumni Association, on talent center, contacts, activities, exclusive interaction with leaders, and the ability to interact with top brands and companies. So they use a mix of tools to secure the post-MBA employment, which is important to insist on. And then for the final slides, the 5 top recruitment sectors are, of course, consulting, but also finance, banking, insurance, like Alejandro, you know, is showing today. And digital and tech is, you know, a big industry that is every year becoming more and more important, of course, and many of our talents joining the program do it because we have the digital expertise, and this is something not all the programs have. Then, of course, luxury retail and FMCG, and finally other kind of industries such as hospitality, energy, and, you know, smaller, represent smaller numbers but still present with recruitment industries. In terms of positions, it goes from, you know, marketing VP, vice president, director. What we notice is that definitely senior level, and with the, you know, trend to executive level position, of course. You can move to the last slide, Laura. I wanted to go back now to what the recruiters think about our talents, which is also a good question for us at the Talent Center. Why are they interested in our Global MBA graduates? I think it's mostly because they have really this global approach, which is the identity of the program, and they come from such different multicultural backgrounds that they definitely have this in them. 14 nationalities in the cohort this year, so this speaks by itself. International exposure, they have it for sure. Professional experience, we mentioned it before, 4 to 7 years professional experience. And the macro view, so the ability to strategize for company, taking into consideration the digital transformation. So again, let's go back to digital, which is very important for strategy trackers, the ability to understand and to help companies do the switch and move to this new world. Expertise in luxury, as Antea mentioned before, which is really, you know, been, you know, one of the identity of the luxury brand management track for 26 years now. International mobility, so our talents are able to travel anywhere in the world and really want to have an international career. And it's a mix also of soft and hard skills. So both together are really the perfect match for recruiters to select them. And to finish, just a few examples of companies that recruit every year some of our students. These are just, it's just a small part and a few examples, but for strategy, you have, of course, the big consulting firms, you have banking, you have Total, Mano Mano, Amazon, we talked about it, Xiaomi, BNP, and so many others. I'd be happy to elaborate more if you have any more questions. And of course, for luxury, we have all the big luxury brands present worldwide, such as Chanel, Kering, L'Oreal, that Andrea mentioned before, which are really partners of the program too. So I covered everything I wanted to cover for you, really to understand the identity of our talent center and what we do, where we want to take you. But I'll be happy to answer any question at the end.
Thank you very much to the both of you. So now we are going to let our alumni speak a little bit more. We had you answer some questions, but we have a few more for you. So first, we're going to talk with you, Alejandro. So you are class of 2021, so you just got out of the program, and you're now an associate director of corporate ratings. Tell us again when you'll be going into your new position very soon, right?
Yes, I finally got my visa yesterday, so I'll be moving to Madrid on Saturday, and I'm starting on Tuesday.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So thank you for taking some time. I'm sure it's a busy time for you right now, so thank you for taking some time to talk with us. So first question, tell us a bit more about you, what you've done before the Global MBA, fun facts about you, anything you'd like to say.
Yeah, so before I worked in the MBA, before I came to the MBA, I worked in Mexico. I had worked in finance during my 7 years of experience first, and also in like different kinds of sectors. First, I worked in an NGO as the finance director of a student-run NGO for a year. Then I worked for the government, for the Mexican government, as a data analyst for banking data in anti-money laundering and corruption kind of like search, and like I did like a lot of financial policies and tried to find trends in order to avoid this kind of mishappenings, no? But this also led me to S&P Global, where I entered as a financial data analyst, which kept all the financial information of the companies in the portfolio in line, like in order like the ratings service is like it's industry that relies a lot on its credibility and like the trust the clients put upon them. So I was like the first line of defense in terms of like doing this kind of job correctly and making sure that there was not an error with the data we were using. I worked in that for a year, and then they passed me into doing. I got promoted into the ratings team itself, where I had my own small portfolio because I was still an analyst of companies. Where I was, where I did everything, like from like the financial information, the business analysis, and all the like the projections of how the business would perform in the next 3 to 5 years. I also manage the relation with the client, with the investor relation, and with the investors of the companies themselves. So it was quite a busy experience, especially during March 2020, as you can imagine. But after that, I realized at some point that like there were some abilities and some skills that I would not that I would rather accelerate myself getting to acquaintance to them and getting to know them through an MBA, and that's when I decided to come to study for an MBA. I got here. That's has been my path to now.
All right, thank you. And could you tell us a bit more about how the Talent Center helped you to achieve your career goal, to achieve where you are right now?
Yeah, sure. So the first of all, and I think Daphne put it very structured it very well. One thing I really liked was like they helped me to realize where you want your career to go. So you have your activities to understand and to get a clear picture of where your career is at this moment. and from there start like to an action plan to get to where you want to go next, who you want to meet, who should be contacting with, what company should attract you depending on your values or whatever, or what you want to achieve, and how to address these kinds of things. That is how I got like that. That's how it helped me like set up the path in order for me to like accelerate my career in this case. The second thing I got from the Talent Center was the resources. I mean, we have talked already about Case Coach. I used it a lot because two of my I did a lot of cases with two of the people my colleagues from the MBA. And unfortunately, the two of them got like job offers from the consulting business by doing these kinds of cases. So it was really nice. It was like it was very expensive also. Like we had like, I mean, I don't know, there were like 40 or 50 cases like to be done, like, and we were doing them all like all the time. And for me, in my case, for example, I had like also the case competitions. Like we have like there's a lot of opportunity to do kind of case competitions. In my case, I did a lot of M&A ones. Honestly, something I had not addressed in that kind of part, an analysis I had not addressed completely in that kind of way during my career. So it also challenged me to further developing my goals, and it was quite interesting. It was a very good good resources to have.
Thank you. And specifically, so you also had a field trip. All right, so you had a field trip to Luxembourg, right, and Amsterdam.
Yes.
Could you tell us a bit more about it?
Okay, so it was really amazing. Like honestly, it was a really cool experience. I'll start with the Luxembourg one. For me, it was kind of the most important trip, sort of, because since I wanted to continue my career in financial markets, I don't think there's a better place to do it than there, no? So, and also what we realized when we got there is that the alumni chapter is really strong in Luxembourg. Like there's a really good community of alumni from ESSEC there, which allowed it to like become like really cool events where we got to meet, like for me, a lot of people in my field, but also like people from Amazon, because there are like Amazon headquarters there, and other people from outside the financial markets. Like maybe I was like okay talking with people from banking and funds, but other people also can attest to this. I believe that one of my cohort got a job also from one contact from getting to know a company during these events. So yeah, in the case of Amsterdam, it was kind of different. It was a much more broad experience. I was very much called into Amsterdam as well, but it is different because I was more about like the perks that the city has to offer. And like, for example, they have told me that they are very welcoming for people who come there only to work and stuff like that. So that's what I wanted to find out. And the events were like really, really good. I mean, we met people from both the ESSEC alumni and from outside the ESSEC alumni, and they were pretty open, and they wanted to hear you to understand what you were doing and how has your career path led you there. And you really could see the connection. It was a pretty they were pretty open for you. We actually like with some of them met afterwards outside the setup of the events, of the ESSEC events, which allowed you to like understand how these deep connections were. And actually, one of them, when I applied to one of their companies, they like we was kind enough to give me some time to help understand and prepare my case, or well, not my case, but like my interviews for these kinds of positions, which was like really, really cool experience as well.
Oh, absolutely. It's the connections that you make during the trips, you keep them afterwards, not
Yes.
just during the trip. That's great. Well, thank you very much for answering those different questions. Arvind, thank you also for being here. I know that you're in a very different time zone as we are. So again, also thank you for being here while it's quite early. Arvind, you're also class of 2021, and you're now, again, like we said earlier, a sales manager for the flagship for Mobile on Madison Avenue. So also congratulations on your job, and thank you for being here very early in your day.
It's a huge pleasure. Definitely ESSEC has been very instrumental in helping me make this next step in my career. So happy to give back.
Thank you. So tell us a bit more about yourself.
Sure. So as Anthea mentioned, my professional beginning was in the marketing and communications industry. I worked for McCann World Group, which is a global advertising agency, or rather integrated marketing services agency. So it comprised an advertising agency, but also a media brand, media buying agency, CRM, etc., etc. So a mini holding company of sorts. And I was working on the global brands, including Nestle, L'Oreal, MasterCard, American Airlines, General Motors. So it gives you a sense for some of our clients. And I was working really on global strategy at the time, ensuring that a tagline like "because we're worth it" translates the same way or with the same kind of meaning and feeling from, say, Chile to Indonesia to France to South Africa, depending on the different culture of beauty in those various places, but also making sure that the brand is like uniformly positioned and that there's a single brand identity across all of these different countries. But my feeling very early on was that I really wasn't interested in selling lipstick and cereal bars. I mean, I loved the sophistication, the savoir-faire behind luxury. This was the category that I really wanted to work in. So I used some of my transferable skills from marketing and communications to do some consulting in the luxury world. But the thing about the luxury industry is that it can be quite closed and a little bit opaque, very much for insiders and by insiders. And it can be a little bit difficult to break in unless you have prior experience, which is why I so carefully considered the ESSEC MBA. And in fact, I looked at a range of different MBAs claiming to have some sort of luxury specialization. But honestly, ESSEC is the only one where the luxury component of the learning is balanced almost 50-50 with the core curriculum of operations, finance, and so on and so forth. And most other programs that say they're, say, fashion or luxury focused will have maybe a 3-week module, a 4-week module. So at the end of the day, ESSEC was the only MBA program that I applied to, knowing that this was it. I mean, it was either this one or none at all. And I had the huge good fortune that Anthea saw something in me and that the admissions council accepted me.
It's all or nothing for you, right?
It's interesting you say that, because even with this job, leaving ESSEC, I did not put in a single job application, not one resume did I submit through like a LinkedIn or a website. This came entirely through connections, 100%. And Anthea's connection specifically, drawing on alumni from 25 years of the program's existence, alumni who've now gone on to become regional CEOs, vice presidents, senior vice presidents across business functions, across companies in the industry. So for me, I mean, in a very tangible way, my current job was a direct result of the talent center. And of course, all of the learning that I had during the MBA that allowed me to then speak to those people and present myself in the interview in a way that showed them that I had knowledge about their category and would be an asset to their teams.
Absolutely. Well, I think you answered the next question already. So maybe I'll go directly about your field trip to Italy, and if you could tell us a bit more about it, how about what you enjoyed about it, how it helped you, and those different things.
Sure. I mean, one thing that I will say about the field trips is that they're also one component of a whole suite of activities that we have throughout the year. That really lend a kind of variety and dynamism to the program. There's the field trips, there's the boutique internship, as Anthea mentioned. There's also the savoir-faire visits that were a personal favorite for me. The mentorship program, all of these different components. Of course, all of the competitions that we have, the MBA case competitions, but also the internal competitions and Digital Week and so on. All of them are really invaluable because I think that they give you exposure to the quote-unquote real world outside of the theoretical classroom learning that we have, which of course is crucial, but then having that opportunity to apply that to a real world case study or in a conversation with a real world luxury executive, that's really invaluable. As far as the field trips are concerned, what they specifically bring is a chance to really live and touch and feel the culture of luxury in a different market. The Italian market is very, very different. And even the Italian ethos of luxury in many ways is quite different from the French. And actually to be in a country, to go to the corporate offices, to go to the museums, the ateliers, the manufacturing facilities of these various brands, you really get a sense for how the business culture is different, how they're approaching their vision, how they're approaching global expansion vis-a-vis all of the French brands that we have access to over the course of the year. Of course, being in Florence gives you huge exposure to the craftsmanship. Being in Milan gives you a lot of exposure to the business. So from that standpoint, also the Italy trip is very well rounded in that it really shows you different sides of the industry and helps you refine where you think you'd like to sit within the industry, but then also within a company in terms of your function.
Thank you very much. It makes me want to go on that trip, even if I'm not in the luxury brand management world. Thank you very much for all this information. Thank you to both of you for answering the questions. Again, if there are any more questions, I'll be happy to ask them to you. I will go back to the Global MBA in general to give you very quickly some information about the application, and then we will go on to the public's questions. So the application for the Global MBA have already started, and our next deadline is the 20th of February. So it's very important to keep this deadline in mind because it is also a deadline for the early bird application for early bird scholarships. The application is it's a few stages. You have to do your application online on our website directly and upload different documents. You can absolutely screenshot this to refer to it. You apply on our website. You have to show us 2 different tests, either the GMAT or the GRE, and also a TOEFL, an IELTS, or a TOEIC to assess your English levels. And then you will do a motivation interview with one of our professors or either Antea or Daphne, depending on your specialization. And then you will have a couple weeks to make your decision whether you want to be registering or not. What I recommend for the application process is to reach out to me. I'm here. I'm one of the recruitment managers. So reach out to me if you have any questions. Talk to an ambassador on our website. We have current students that are ambassadors and here to answer any of your questions. So that will be quite helpful for your application process. Now we'll go on to some of the questions. So let me read them out to see who should be answering those questions. So specifically, someone is asking if the program is an MBA or an MSc. It is a global MBA, so it is not an MSc. So you'll be able to have the business administration part and the luxury brand management part. One question for you, Alejandro and Arvind. There are many top schools in France that offer MBAs. Why did you choose the MBA with ESSEC, and what made you make that decision?
Well, I think Arvind more or less answered his question during his Q&A, so I'll go myself. I think the main thing was that the boutique of the program, like the small size of the cohorts, it allows you to interact with everyone within it. I had work to do with almost everyone in my cohort. I guess it would be about 60 or 70%. I heard from other people that have studied other MBAs that they do not get to know all of their cohort as well. I got the privilege to know it, even though if we didn't see each other that much due to COVID. Honestly, we were like the how do you say, like during confinement, we had a lot of confined part, but we had the opportunity to interact with everyone and get to know everyone, and that was something I really cherish and really appreciate from our MBA. That was the main reason, honestly.
I mean, I'm happy to add to that as well. I think that firstly, if you're thinking about the luxury track, one thing that it's very crucial to be aware of is that you should be very sure that this is your passion, that this is what you want to do. and this is almost like a calling for you. Other top business schools in France, maybe we won't name names, will say that they have a luxury component. It may be 2 weeks, it may be 3 weeks maximum. It may, at the end of the day, just boil down to a student club, supported perhaps by members of the faculty. Sure, they may find people within their alumni network or their larger network who are prominent in the industry to come and speak to you. But in terms of the comprehensiveness and robustness of the luxury track, there's just nothing like it. I mean, this is the top program, so there is no comparison as far as I'm concerned, really.
Thank you to the both of you. I have a question that is a bit about admissions, so I could answer it, but I know Daphne and Ante, you both do some interviews for admission, so I will ask you this question to see what is your answer and if we would have the same. Please guide on the direction of how we could be an ideal candidate for the Global MBA.
I think the ideal candidate is someone who comes with an expertise, who has, strong career background already, but wants to be challenged again, like really question himself again and yeah, completely be re-challenged, and is able also to question himself, to move to a new phase and go back to his career goal. We research a mix of hard and soft skills in terms of talents too, and something that is quite important too is the fact to have a clear career plan, because as I mentioned at the beginning, 1 year is very short, and it's not during the MBA that you will have the time to think about your career goal. You need to come with a plan, and of course this plan may change and be realigned and have different scenarios, but still you need to come with a clear idea. So if you come with this, we are able to take you where you want to be.
Ante, is there anything you'd like to add?
As far as the luxury track is concerned, and I think you've probably seen one of our best examples with Arvind, you've got to be passionate about some aspect of luxury, even if you've never worked in it. For example, I interviewed a young lady 1 year who came from a background in banking and mergers and acquisitions. And when I said to her, well, what's the link between mergers and acquisitions and luxury? She said, I've got 36 bottles of fragrance in my bathroom. Every time a new fragrance comes out, I go and buy it and I test it. And I know all the ingredients, and I'm absolutely passionate about fragrances, Anthea, and I hate working in mergers and acquisitions. And all I want to do is to transition into a career in fragrances and cosmetics. And so she had a passion, she had an idea, she had a good academic background. She came and did the MBA. She made it happen, and now she's working for L'Oreal Luxury Division in the travel retail department in Miami. Well, but if that passion isn't there, you don't need to know exactly where you want to go or exactly what you want to do, but there's got to be a light. Your face has got to light up when you talk about it, and there's got to be a reason as to what you want to do and where you want to go. You don't come and do our MBA because you think you might vaguely be interested in luxury, and so you come and do the MBA for a year and then you'll decide afterwards if you want to go into luxury. And you don't come to us because you like buying Louis Vuitton handbags. That's not the point. The point is, are you passionate about heritage, storytelling, craftsmanship, all of the work that goes into making these wonderful products that can last for years and years and years and years and years and can be handed down from one family to another, or the heritage aspect. So there's got to be a passion, there's got to be a reason, there's got to be something that lights you up, that makes you want to come to do the program, because otherwise you won't. It's very hard work, as Arvind and Alexandra will tell you. We pack into 1 year what normally you would do in 2 years, most MBAs are 2 years. And so you've got to be very passionate about what it is that you're doing to be able to stand the pace of all the work that you've got to do, haven't you, Arvind? Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
that's
so
100% true. I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's also an industry like any other, and what you see as a customer is very different from what you see as a manager who's walking behind that door, entering a code, walking behind the door, and seeing, you know, the back end of things that makes the magic happen. And the machinery isn't always pretty. So you, I think, also have to have a slightly realistic perspective and know that it will be as difficult as any other job that you've ever had. And not all of it will be glamorous or pretty. But be willing to put up with all of that for all of the benefits and all the love. That's the benefit of working in an industry that's about creativity and beauty at the end of the day.
Thank you. Thank you to the both of you. Now, I have a question regarding French and the importance of it for professional growth in France. So the both of you left France after your graduation. Did you feel that you needed French during your studies, or is there any of your classmates who are currently staying in France? Could you tell us a bit more about it if you have information?
I can start, Ale, if you, yeah. So definitely, so I left France despite the fact that I speak reasonably good French. I would say that with a little bit of practice, I would have been able to reach professional proficiency. But I decided to leave simply because my professional roots are in the US, and I plan to do my career development here and leverage my network here before making a transition back to Europe in the medium term, say 4 years. Based on all of my classmates who I'm very closely in touch with, who are looking in France, it's, I would say, 50-50 in terms of French language requirement as an absolute necessity or obligation. Increasingly, luxury companies are very global. The LVMHs of the world, Richemont, Kering, all of these subsidiaries, they're very large companies. They employ a large number of people from international backgrounds. They operate in 100+ countries, all of them. And they require talent, not just talent, but also people who understand the cultural contexts in all of these different countries. And the lingua franca is English. So when you have people from so many different backgrounds, inevitably communication will be in English. And a lot of those kind of global level positions, it's not so much a problem. Also, the American companies based in Paris, so the Estée Lauders, the Ralph Laurens of the world, English, again, of course, because that's also their cultural foundation. And then there are French brands with maybe global aspirations. So even if they're a slightly niche local brand, they have their sights very clearly set on expansion into Asia, Latin America, North America. Those will tend to have a slightly more global mentality, and therefore the language of business will be English. That said, it's undeniable that strong French knowledge is a huge asset when you're looking to work in France and in this industry. If it's a position, say, for a Louis Vuitton in France for marketing and or business development in France, then of course language is de facto obligatory.
I'd like to add on the fact that for strategy and digital leadership, the ability to be open to other markets is key also, is part of the success. And 1 year is too short to really improve French, language, especially because this is not the goal. So it's a nice addition, and it's true that it may help for some positions in France, but since the Global MBA in strategy track is really so open to other markets where English is really the main language and French is not required, I would say it's not a necessity. It's a plus, but definitely not required for strategy. Just small addition, it's true that now things are changing a little bit in France, and some companies don't necessarily require French for strategy trackers, but traditionally it was the case. So I think opening to other markets, European markets, global market, is really key for your own success.
I will add to that also, for example, sorry.
Go ahead.
I can tell you, like, from my experience, what I saw in financial markets, it is becoming more and more like as Arvin said, more global. Therefore, English is key, and most of the things are in English. It is like the problem would be like interacting, like what I gathered from the people I talked to is like still the interaction between the teams, like outside of the work environment, is still in French. So that might be some kind of problem, but it will not stop you from doing your work. The one that it is like the one industry that did tell me that it is super important to have a very good French level is consulting. Definitely consulting. What I've seen here in France, what like I've discussed with many people, is that most of the things that go on into consulting are in French. For me, the reason why I left to Madrid was not exactly even a reason due to language. I mean, it did have something to do to language, but they opened me the position. The position was open for everywhere in Europe but Paris. So, I mean, I would be glad to stay here, honestly. My wife works here. My life is starting to grow here. However, we decided to go to Madrid in given the fact that we could not find that the position like had this kind of limitation. I mean, from going to Frankfurt or going to I don't know, Moscow to going to Madrid, it's like, for me, it's like a lot more comfortable to go to Madrid. That's why I chose that.
All right, thank you. And so just on the admissions perspective, to get into the program, there is no need for any French skills because the program is fully in English. So it just depends on if you want to stay in France and work in France afterwards or not. So now go into the last question. So there were so many good questions and lots of good talks. So we went a little bit over the time, but it's a very interesting question, again, for both of you, Alejandro and Arvind. How much do you believe that the culture shock from studying in another country and with such a diverse class helped you improve your soft skills and also your professional growth? It's a tough one.
Tough one for sure. I mean, I would say that it was immense. I mean, there's no doubt that within the cohort, you know, there were the usual personality conflicts. There were some clashes. There were a lot of our work was also group work, and the groups were constantly rotating, and this was done on purpose, of course, to make sure that you're being exposed to people with different working styles, different cultural backgrounds, etc. One very good thing, I think, in the way that the MBA was arranged when Ale and I were doing it was that our first class was on exactly this kind of organizational behavior, bias training, communication styles, etc., with Professor Junko Takagi. That was really interesting because she led us through a series of exercises that kind of really brought to the fore our own ways of thinking, our own biases, ways of structuring and identifying your own preferences versus other people's preferences for communication, for productivity, etc., etc. And I think from that standpoint, it was utterly invaluable, especially since it's also a safe space, right? There is no like earth-shattering real-world consequence, if you like, to these projects. So it's a great crucible in which to really develop your self-awareness, but then also your ability to interact with the world around you in a more empathetic and clever fashion. It's interesting that this question comes up now because I think that, you know, in addition to all of the learning and the career development, just as important is the personal development that the MBA gives you, and the exposure to another culture, the exposure to networking, to smart people from around the world who are in that same locality as you. That is so invaluable. And it's not something that I would ever have thought about as an advantage to the MBA. I mean, I was doing the check boxes, will it get me a job? You know, is it triple accredited, all of these different things. But you actually don't realize what a boon it is to now have friends in Uzbekistan and Uruguay.
Okay, just
Sandra, would you like to add something? Yeah.
I just want if you could just repeat the question. Just.
So the question was the advantages, pretty much, if you believe that the culture shock from, moving to another country to study your MBA and have a very diverse classroom, if you think that it helped you with your soft skills and also your professional growth.
Okay, no, definitely. As Arvind more or less said, the groups, for example, since all of the activities were group based, at least 95% of them, there were very small activities that were individual only. Most of them were I never I was the only there were only 2 Latin Americans in the whole my whole cohort, so it was for me that part of thing was a bit of a culture shock. I have had international experience, but never so diverse as in this case. And at first, the first part of the program, you have only one group, and you do that with that group. You do all of your assignments. It's until the second part that you start rotating groups a lot more and to understand this part. And from here, you start not only understanding your biases, but also understanding the other people, and how do they approach their working styles. It was very evident, and it became a very good exercise for us. And in the end, when we had all of our final deliveries during December, we understood each other so well that we knew what we could do and how we could help the other people around us, and to achieve the better results from our work. It was really amazing, and it was really cool, and definitely helped. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much to the both of you. Also, Antea, definitely thank you for being here during this presentation. We will be stopping the presentation. Thank you to the 4 of you for being here. Thank you to the participants for asking very interesting questions and for listening to our presentation. We stay available through the phone or through email. Feel free to reach out to me for your admissions questions, or to reach out to any of us if you wish. So thank you for your time. Thank you to the 4 of you, and I'll talk to you very soon, hopefully.
Thanks a lot, Laura, and thanks, Alejandro.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lara.
Bye.
Au revoir.